What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm down at Conway Golf Club, I'm down in the golf studio, and today we're going to do another little comparison between two launch monitors. So in the last video you see me do, I compared my FlightScope MEVO Plus against the GC2, and today's video we're going to do a little upgrade of that. We're going to compare my FlightScope MEVO Plus again, and we're comparing it against the GC2's big brother, the GCQUAD. As you can see, so FlightScope MEVO Plus, £2,000, Foresight GCQUAD, £20,000. You won't get much change. So I'm going to set everything back up now, and obviously make sure I don't drop anything, because that's what you don't want to be doing. So as we did in the last video, again, Pro V1X. Silver dot on the ball, so we get the spin read a little bit better indoors for the FlightScope. And then after reading your comments on the last video I did, you'd rather have seen a table rather than me reading it out. So after every shot, couple of shots I hit, we'll put the two tables together and you'll be able to see the difference rather than me reading it out. So let's get into it. Right, so we've got the GCQUAD set up on the floor there in the right position. We've got the FlightScope MEVO Plus set 8 foot 4 inches behind the ball, and we have 12 foot from ball to screen. So there's enough flight for the ball to project. I didn't say that in the last video when I compared against the GC2. So I'm just giving you FlightScope guys a reference of what I'm dealing with from ball to monitor and monitor to screen. So we're going to go straight into the 54. This could be one of the new wedges I put in the bag that we'll be testing out. So a little insight of what's to come. So we've got the dot pointing the screen again. We're going to hit an average of 3 shots, and then we're going to compare the two numbers. So again, as you all know from watching the last video, and most of you guys who are into the launch monitor market anyway, you understand what the two radars do. The FlightScope MEVO Plus again is a Doppler radar launch monitor, watches the ball fly and predicts from there, whereas a GCQUAD, similar to a GC2, is a camera based system, but obviously being a quad it has 4 cameras rather than the 1, so it picks up a lot more different parameters than a GC2 would. So we're going to go straight into the 54 and then we'll show you the comparison between the numbers. Right guys, so that's the 3 shot hit with the 54. I'll put up the numbers on the screen now, and as you're looking at the numbers, I'll talk through exactly what we're looking at. Right, so if we compare the usual numbers, we'll go off ball speed, spin, carry and total. So on average on the FlightScope MEVO Plus, the average carry was 120.7 and the average total was 122.5. And then we look at the GCQUAD numbers. The average carry was 125 and the average total was 130. So a little bit of a difference there. And then we go over to the spin. The average spin on the FlightScope, as you can see, obviously because you're looking at the screen now, is 10,689, and the average spin on the GCQUAD is 10,847. So that's very, very close. And then we look at the ball speed number. The average ball speed on the GCQUAD is 99 miles per hour. And the average ball speed on the FlightScope is 99.2. So again, basically spot on. So what we're going to do now, we'll go up to a 7-iron and then we'll compare we'll hit 3 shots and we'll compare the difference there as well. Right, so we're back over to the 7-iron and we'll hit 3 shots and then we'll show you the average numbers again. Alright guys, so that's the 3, done with the 7 iron. We'll again put the numbers up on the screen for you guys to have a look, and I'll just talk through the averages, what we're looking at again. So let's put the numbers up for you. So I've just put the numbers on the screen. We'll go through the numbers again. So when we look at the average carry on the GCQUAD was 203, and the average carry on the flight scope was 217. The average total was 227 on the flight scope and 215 on GCQUAD. So a little bit of a difference there, but that is due to, when we look at the backspin, the average backspin on the flight scope is 5,221. That is because one of the numbers we have is spinning at 3,500, so it's picked up the spin a lot lower. That is one problem you do have when you're hitting with a Doppler radar system indoor in comparison to a camera system. But again, if we did do this test outside, it would be a totally different outcome. I think so anyway, but at the moment we can't do that. It's not very good weather here. So that's one of the reasons I'm indoors. And then we look at ball speed, is average of 146 on the flight scope and 141, well 140.8 on the GCQUAD. So a little bit lower on the GCQUAD, which I've not really seen that much difference beforehand until this time. So I may not have hit it as good as I thought, but that's that. Right, so we're over to the 2 iron now. Again, we're just going to hit a couple of shots and compare the data. Dots are pointing forward. I'd just like to say before I hit these 3 shots, if you are new to the channel, thanks for subscribing. I hope you like the content I'm producing. There's going to be future videos that are going to be very good with other YouTubers as well coming down the line, as well as just good fun things that I'm going to try and post for you guys to enjoy. So thanks for coming over, and let's hit some 2 irons now. So we started that one, very good strike to start. And we've hit that good, a little bit high and right. That was hit the best out of the 3. That was a little bit more like it. I am swinging a standard golf swing here, so I'm not going to be chasing maximum distance. Obviously this would just be standard golf swings. And I'm not going to lie, I'm not swinging it as quick because I am in agony. I've been back in the gym this week. Obviously if you see my last video, with long drive events now coming along and looks like we're going to be able to compete, I'm trying to get a bit bigger, a bit stronger, a bit faster. So this week has been a little bit painful, and I'm not going to lie, I am in pain. So, but that's part of the process of getting bigger, faster and stronger, so that's what we need to do. So that's the 2 iron done. I'm going to throw the numbers up on the screen now, and we'll go through the numbers together. Right, so comparing the numbers again, difference in spin we'll start off with. The average on the GCQUAD was 3,442, and the average on the flight scope was 3,394, which is very, very close. Then we'll go over to carry. Average on the GCQUAD was 271 and total was 290. Average on the flight scope was 258 carry and 287 total. So the total is not far off. It's very close. Average ball speed on the flight scope 169.2, and the average ball speed on the GCQUAD 170.5. So a little bit different in the comparisons with the 2 iron between the GC2 and the GCQUAD. The GCQUAD and the flight scope MEVO Plus are a lot closer. I think that's mainly because I have a little bit more room from monitor to ball and ball to screen in here, as I did in the last video. So the flight scope is a bit more accurate, and luckily I've had no miss-hit shots yet. So we're going to go over to the driver now and we're going to compare the numbers. I am going to put dots on the driver head now, so we'll be able to compare the club speed between the 2 monitors, as well as ball speed, spin, total distance and carry distance as well. So let's get into the plane driver. Right guys, so we're over to the driver. Again, this is my plane driver, so we're not going to be swinging for the fences as you have seen in previous videos, which I prefer doing. So with the driver we can compare an extra data parameter with club speed which we couldn't do on GC2 due to the fact that GC2 needs an extra HMT attachment to read club speed. The GC Quad does already have that built in. So what we've had to do to the driver face is just add the dots there, and then the GC Quad will pick up the club speed. Flight Scope already picks up the club speed, so we're going to compare the two and we're going to see the differences. So we'll hit 3 drivers and then we'll get into the numbers. Right, so while that ball's still flying through the air, we're going to put the numbers up on the screen for you now. I've hit 3 decent drives there. As I said, I haven't gone after anything because obviously it's just a standard golf swing and I'm in a little bit of pain, so I don't want to try and push my body too much. So we're going to put the numbers up now and we'll compare the data. So the numbers are back on the screen. We're looking at an average ball speed of 191.6 on the GC Quad and 196.9 on the Flight Scope. So a little bit higher on the Flight Scope. And then we'll look at club speed, which is something we haven't looked at with the last clubs because we didn't have the dots on the face and I didn't want to put dots on every single club. So if we look at the average club speed on the GC Quad, the average club speed on the GC Quad was 132 mile per hour and the average club speed on the Flight Scope MEVO Plus was 131.5. So again, very, very accurate. And then we look at average carry and average total. So the average carry on the GC Quad was 337 and the average carry on the Flight Scope was 327. The total on the Quad was 362 and the total on the Flight Scope is 347.4. So the last parameter we'll look at is the spin. Average spin for the 3 shots on the Quad is 2,223 and the average spin on the Flight Scope is 400 higher, which is 2,618. So a little bit higher, hence why it hasn't gone as far. So guys, when you're comparing the 2 machines against each other, as you've seen, we started off with a 54 7-iron, 2-iron, and we went into my plane driver. The differences are not massive between the 2 units. Obviously, the GC Quad goes into way different detail of different parameters of, I don't even know all the parameters the GC Quad covers, which is a lot better when it becomes as a fitting tool. You get a lot more out of GC Quad and the software and so on in comparison to the Flight Scope MEVO Plus. But the Flight Scope MEVO Plus is an affordable launch monitor for the majority of people, and then you go up the market of Flight Scope Extra, which is comparable to the GC Quad at around the 17 to 20,000 pound mark. So I'm not going to hit any long drives now because after hitting a few shots there, I'm a little bit tired, my body's aching, and I don't want to put myself into a state where I have to slow myself down and don't hit the ball as good. So we're going to wrap up the video there. If you did enjoy this video, please like, subscribe, comment down below what differences you thought there were between the GC Quad and the Flight Scope, and if you think the differences were big enough for yourself, if you're in that financial position to go and buy a GC Quad, or if you're in the financial position to buy a Flight Scope MEVO Plus, what would take your preference and why. So things we have coming up, as I said at the start of the video, we're going to do a little wedge test between the 2 different sets of wedges I have in my bag. I don't want to do that indoors, I want to do it outdoors, but due to the weather being a little bit bad here today at the moment, and this whole last week really, I'm not doing anything until it gets a little bit nicer, because I am the fairest of fair weather golfers. And we also have other things in the pipeline that are going to be really good for you to watch. So guys, thanks again for watching. Please smash that like button, comment below for me, and hit the notification bell so every time I post a new video you do get notified, and I'll see you in the next video.